Okay, happy new year and welcome everybody. Welcome to those of you joining live and welcome to everyone who will be watching the recording. This is the new year energy reset with Anna House. And I'm so excited that you're here so that we can really find our center and find our own way to a refreshed energy and bring that out into our families and our homes and our work in our communities in the world. I'm going to start by getting us to just do a little stretching, get ourselves feeling into our bodies. Yeah, taking some deep breaths. Mm, feeling in your body where there may be tension, giving it a little rub. Mm. Put your hands on your heart or your core. Mm. Feeling your legs. Mm. Noticing where your feet or your seat meets the floor. Feeling a little flow in your body, in your cells. Mm. One last big stretch. Big breath. Mm. I'm just shaking it out a little bit, just feeling, tapping your toes on the feet, on the floor, feeling yourself coming present in your body, in this collective opportunity to reset our energy. Our agenda today, and we are going to work to cram a bunch into an hour so that you get the most value out of this time. We'll do a quick welcome. And then we'll get into a deeper meditation. And this is the point where we will get a chance to really feel a new energetic expression within ourselves. And then talk a little bit about the reset. And then I want to just throw a couple of quick skills out to you, which is around following the child. And I have a handout that I'll send out to everyone who registered for this event. We'll get the handout. If you're watching the recording, you can email me at anna@annahouse.com to ask for the downloadable handout. Because we're going to go over that one quick, but there'll be some other opportunities for you to dive into that a little deeper. And then we'll talk a little bit about the environment and how important that is for really having that reset to be living into the parent you're longing to be and to set your child up for success. And then we'll set a vibrational intention. And at the end, I'm going to introduce you to the Roots to Grow Wings to Fly curriculum and my 2023 bonus package, and then take some questions. So we may go over the hour with a few questions, and I'm here and open to just dive a little deeper into that curriculum and what there is into the new year to get even clearer on how to live the life you're longing with your kids and really do things differently than you've maybe seen them done before, because it'll be your own unique expression of success and happiness and joy and peace. All right, welcome. I created Anna House as a business that is focused on finding holistic health because I truly believe that we can each be part of our own personal and collective quest towards more peace, joy, and love by finding that place within ourselves. And my experience in this and what inspired me to create this was as a mother of two, I was not only full-time caretaker and, household organizer, but also working a full-time job as an early educator, as well as diving deeply into issues of social justice and advocacy and activism on a political level to really try to see this peace, this lasting peace and joy that I really believed was accessible to all people if we could just, if we could just make it happen. And I was pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where I was completely depleted. And I would be out at rallies and chanting and, trying to transform the lives of the kids in my classroom. But then I would come home and my own home was filled with yelling and frustration, and like I said, I just felt depleted and completely exhausted. And it wasn't until I really turned my own energy and attention inward and found this little nugget of inspiration kind of came to me from that quiet voice deep inside. And that voice said to me that if I could find my own peace inside myself, that I could maybe then begin to create peace within the four walls of my own home. And that maybe then that peace and love and joy could expand out into our neighborhood or our community, maybe our state, maybe our country, and then maybe then to see that ultimate dream of world peace. So I have taken everything that I've learned as an educator and an energy healer and all the work that I've done in my own personal process and transformation as a woman and a mother, and I put it all together into a curriculum to support you in finding that inside yourself. And we're just going to do a quick 1 hour New Year energy reset to get you started. So we're going to start with a meditation. I'd love for you to find a comfortable space. You can be sitting, you can be laying down. If you're driving your car, maybe pull over. um, give yourself the opportunity to find a gentle gaze on the floor or to close your eyes or looking straight ahead at something soft like a candle, and begin to breathe. Following your breath inside feeling as you begin to relax. Just focusing on the breath can naturally help our intention just begin to relax our muscles, relaxing any tension in your forehead and your face, your jaw, and throat, allowing your shoulders, your back, and your arms to relax, just letting yourself melt down through your hips, and your legs, and your feet. And from this relaxed state, we're going to start by visualizing just this small glowing orb, like a small sun, your own personal little sun just floating above your head. Imagine it about 6 inches or so above your head. Bring your attention there by using your intention, your attention, your imagination, or even looking with your eyes up through the center of your skull, center of your head, into the space above your crown to see that glowing ball. And as that comes into a stronger and stronger image, you're going to begin to use the other part of your brain just to really go back in time. We're going to do a little time travel in this meditation. So taking yourself exactly 1 year ago, to January 1st, 2022. And we're going to take a quick trip through time. Don't be too caught up in thinking of all the details. Just allow the first things that come to your mind and imagine the events and the people and the different experiences you've had starting from January 1st, and begin to move through January. And in each moment, as something arises to your mind of what was happening in the winter of 2022, you can scan that moment in time and begin to see that there are little golden nuggets of your own pure essence that you have left behind, pieces of your energy that you have left behind in these interactions, in these moments and places, conversations. Allow yourself to do this kind of quick scan as you see the events in January, and just begin to collect up those little nuggets of golden essence, your own pure energy, and allow them to join with this glowing orb above your head. Collect them. If you'd like to use your imagination, that you're like harvesting these little bits of yourself and filling them into a basket, or filling them into a balloon, like a hot air balloon. And as you begin to draw these pieces of your energy in, allow them to begin to collect in with this small glowing orb above your head, and let it build with your golden essence. It will begin to expand, growing larger and larger as you come across more people, more experiences, and more events throughout your year, and you collect the little bits of your energy that you left behind. So imagining through January, February, and March, coming through the winter and into the spring of 2022. As the earth warms and the smells of flowers and the sounds of buzzing bees and birds begin to surround you, what more experiences do you feel, see, sense, or know? Collecting those little bits of your juicy energy through the spring and summer, playful times outside, or stressful times at work, presencing relationships, and breathing in as you draw that energy into that golden orb above your head and feel it expanding, growing ever larger. Breathing in, holding it, breathing out as you collect your energy through the fall of 2022. Feeling how the energies throughout the year shifted and changed, how you grew, how lessons came, you learned, you grew, you moved forward. And each one collecting those bits of energy, allowing the orb above your head to grow larger, allowing your basket of golden essence to become ever more abundant and full. Feel it filling to the brim. Keep stretching and expanding the edges of what you can hold, and move through the experiences that feel maybe closer to the present moment. Thinking about the stretch of holidays we've just been through, from Halloween through November and Thanksgiving and into December, feeling all those bits that you left, maybe with family or friends, having had experiences potentially of being more out and in experiences with your loved ones, and drawing that in deeper and deeper until we come to today, and we look up and we see this glowing orb of delicious golden essence just bulgingly full. And now reach up and imagine a, like a little pin in your hand and allow yourself to pop that glowing orb full of golden honey essence and feel as the essence begins to drop from the orb onto your crown like warm honey. And feel as it begins to coat your head, down your face, mm, covering your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, just oozing down through your body, filling your chest into your abdomen and your pelvis, mm, allowing it to continue to drip down, coating your hips and your legs, your thighs, knees, calves. Feel it covering your arms, your hands, your fingers, allowing it to fully cover you down to your toes, allowing yourself to just soak in this delicious golden honey essence that is you. Mm, and drink it in, placing your hands, one hand on your abdomen, close or below your belly button, and one hand on your heart. And breathe as you fill yourself completely, feeling every nook and cranny on the inside, every little space that is tense or hollow, just allowing it to soak in that warm, delicious nourishment of your own beautiful and divine essence. And taking one more breath to just orient your cells to really feeling this new and wonderful feeling of fullness, feeling your completion of yourself, knowing that this will continue to integrate throughout this 1 hour session and throughout your day today, and will continue to integrate throughout this new year, 2023. Beginning to wiggle your toes and your fingers, gently opening your eyes, allowing this new found place to soak in the information that I'm going to share with you for the next 30 minutes or so. I'm going to take a little sip of water. Mm, beautiful. And now we're going to talk a little bit about opportunities for a reset, for resetting your energy and for resetting your approach um, to building relationships with your children and your loved ones and building your own energetic resilience in your home. For me, there are four core principles, each one equally as important in this reset. So we start with slowing down, then building trust, creating connection, and finding the joy. So, in this moment, in this new year moment, Happy New Year, here on January 1st, 2023, while this particular mark on a calendar is out of touch with the Earth's natural rhythms, it is a mark in time that allows for ritual and ceremony, a rite of passage of a sorts. So use this moment to reset your energy, cross a threshold, and move into a new way of being. Slow down, be present, breathe, forgive yourself, let go of the past, and bring in a sense of ease. Build trust, feel safe inside yourself. In this moment, you can orient yourself by looking around the room and recognizing in this space, right here, right now, I see the door, I see the windows, I feel my body. I am safe in this moment, watching this video, present in this live presentation, and allow that safety to integrate into every cell. An open space for trust. Self-regulation builds trust for co-regulation. This is how we can step into being in support of our children. Create connection. Connection can look a lot of different ways. So experiment, be creative, be a scientist. We're going to talk more about observation in the next section. And after slowing down and building trust, this idea of creating connection will come really easily because it's your own unique expression of connection between you and your child and your family. Um, and we can find that authentic expression from that slower place and from a trusting, energetic space. Find the joy. Be silly. Loosen up. Shake it off. Most importantly, don't take yourself too seriously. And find time for movement, laughter, play, and go with the flow. So these are the principles that embody my philosophy through the Roots to Grow Wings to Fly curriculum and also my family coaching model. So feel those things, take some notes if you'd like about what that brings up in you. And now we're going to just jump in quickly, like I said, into some skills around following the child. Because this is an opportunity for a fresh start and a clean slate. Fill yourself with love and expand to create a foundation or a fertile soil for new ways of being together, to be created. And in following the child, we really can truly see our own unique expression and how that differs from our child's own unique expression as well. And so building more space for our child's interests and creating opportunities for those interests, and then using that to create connection between relationships, but also to help your child connect their interests into other forms of learning throughout their life. There is going to be a downloadable handout, as I mentioned in the agenda, that is going to take us through the next 3 slides. So for today, while you're watching, take out a piece of paper and a pen if you'd like to take some notes or just use your imagination to start drawing in some opportunities for creating newness and creativity in what time looks like for you to spend that quality time with your kid. And following this, I will send an email with that handout so you can download it and use it over and over again, because as your child grows and learns, the opportunity to follow them will shift, and you've got to ride those waves. And so coming back to this handout over and over again will really help because their interests will change. So step 1 in following the child is really thinking through a couple of these questions, asking yourself, what do they like to talk about? What do they play with often? What do they ask questions about? What do they notice or point to? What are their curiosities? And this is really easy to do at any age. And I'm going to share a couple of little examples. But most importantly, I wanted to start by saying that following the child doesn't mean letting your child do whatever they want. Following the child really means learning how to work together, how to have a cooperative experience throughout your day that both honors their interests and that supports this concept of peace and joy and fun in your home and building trust. So, taking that time to just think about what your child's interests are. And my example here, um, I'm going to use a new example for this video because there's a couple of other videos that I'll send you that'll go into more detail and lots of other examples. But for my daughter, I noticed when she was about 7 years old that she was always collecting little bits of leaves out on walks. She would pick flowers. She's very curious about plants. So I realized that she was really, really curious about plants. And that was an observation I made. So this first step really is the concept of observation. And that comes from slowing down, slowing way down, slow enough that you take the time to watch your child. What are they gravitating towards? What do they want to be around? What are you noticing? Um, you know, I like to go on walks and I like to get from one place to the other. My daughter, on the other hand, once I slowed down to watch her, I saw how she would take time again with each plant along the walk. And, at first I'd be like, hurry up, what are you doing? And then I noticed, like, wow, she's really curious about the plants. She's looking at every leaf. She's taking it all in. So then I asked myself a second set of questions. She's really interested in plants. How can I create engaging opportunities for her to explore plants more, even when we're not on walks? So, if you've got an idea of something your child's really interested about, you can ask yourself these questions. What do I already have that is connected to this theme or interest? What can I collect that would develop this interest? Or where could we go to see more of this and connect with others that share this same interest? And so for us, I actually had already been doing my own curiosity around herbs and herbal health. So I started by serving her some tea and saying, "Hey, did you know that this tea has dried plants in it, dried leaves? I wonder which plants were used to create this tea." And then we had some herbalists in our community, and there was a local apothecary close by. So I brought her there, and we started asking questions to the herbalists and that at the apothecary. And actually, over time, we even ended up creating a little get together for other kids who are also interested in plants and wanted to learn more about herbalism. And we were able to, as a group of parents, employ an herbalist to teach our kids an herbalism class, and that has actually taken off and is still now a part of offerings here in our community that many kids have gone on to have a lot of fun with learning about plants and herbs. So there's all kinds of ways you can expand that, but it could also be as easy as just pulling out some books, um, finding ways to, again, like, go on a little trip to go see, something they're curious about. And then finally, you want to make those connections. So how can you connect this interest out um, into other subjects or into other materials? Like I said, are there books about this interest that you could find even at your local library? And we did that with herbalism. We checked out almost every single book on herbalism um, that the library had to offer. And, we were able to then also look into the history of herbalism. And she had an assignment to call her great grandmother, which was so great. She called both her grandmother and her great grandmother to ask about if there were any herbal remedies that they could remember their mother or their grandmother giving to them. So we did our own ancestral history of herbalism. But we also found that there was a lot of great opportunities for her to make observations and journal about this interest, as well as eventually she actually created her own small herbalism business in which we were able to expand all of this learning out into subjects like math and economics. And so this was by the time she was 11, she was actually really expanding all of this interest in plants into science and math and reading. And we were able to really enrich all of our lives through this small interest. And that helped us to build connection as a family because it became something that we kind of all got involved in and supported her with. So that's following the child. Those three easy steps. I'm just going to go back to the original slide to just remember we're going to make observations to discover our child's interests, then find opportunities to explore that interest more deeply, and then to connect that interest into the community, into other subjects. So that you're finding, you're finding a flow, you're finding opportunities to really, um, again, follow your child, but in a way that builds opportunities to connect. Okay. So taking a deep breath, that was a lot of information, letting that settle in your body, knowing that there's going to be a lot of time to explore that concept. And again, that I'm going to send out some more resources around that. I'd like to go into a couple of other principles of my philosophy. And one of the really most important things that I've found, especially when it comes to an undesirable behavior or like, it's a frustrating moment, it's often not the child that needs to be changed. It, it can often be a simple solution that's based in the environment. How can we change the environment so that this child feels more successful, feels more independent, or feels more autonomous in their life so that they can feel also secure and safe and relaxed. And that often then helps for that peaceful and joyful energy that we're looking for. So, this is where we can bring in a lot of fun. So remember, that is a core thing. Finding the joy and having fun with this is so important. So first, looking at the physical environment, how are you creating independence at your home? Um, in what ways does your child have the ability to, um, you know, are they able to access things like their own shoes or their own jackets? Are they able to access things like a cup of water if they're thirsty? Are they able to reach the sink so they can wash their hands on their own? And this actually it expands from toddlers all the way to teenagers and young adults. It's so important that our kids continue to grow their skills of independence at home and feel that they have your trust in order to learn how to use tools to cook their own food or to be able to set up their own comfort. Um, and what I've found is that, those moments that feel the most frustrating for me are when my children have to nag me to get something for them or to prepare something for them that they really want or that they're feeling really passionate about. So making sure that they have access again to the materials that allow them to explore their interests and their passions, and that they don't have to ask you for permission or ask you to set something up in order to explore that, but that they can follow their own creative impulse. I've been talking a lot about creative impulses, and that can be really fun. And this is where we also get an opportunity to do some side by side exploration of interests. So if I have a desk where I can sit and paint because I know that's an interest of my daughter's and it's something that actually makes me feel calm and something I've always wanted to explore in myself. Um, I often make sure that there's an open space next to me, a desk that's my child's size, that's also cleared off, not too cluttered, and where they can access their own paint. So if I'm sitting there painting and they see me and they're inspired in their own creative impulse, then they can sit down and pull out paper and paints to do it themselves without having to interrupt me. So this clutter and too many toys things has been an eye opener for me. And there have been a lot of moments where I was feeling like, oh, my kid just won't go to sleep, or they're just not, they're constantly seemingly out of control in the house, just, running around or, being really loud, all the things that can feel really frustrating. Um, First of all, it's important to have, lots of opportunities for both gross motor movement, as well as like quieter spaces to read and be mellow. Um, but often when I'm in that moment of like, what is going on? Why can't they relax? It's often because I can't relax, and that's because there's just too much stuff. And so reducing the clutter, cleaning up their room, reorganizing on a regular basis really can help bring that feeling of ease and relaxation. And often once I've gone through my kids' room once, and just like cleared out the cobwebs and, put the books back on the bookshelf, it's like we all get a good night's sleep. So just thinking about some of those little things, how can you store away some of the toys, and kind of rotate them out on a weekly or biweekly or monthly basis so that you just have a few things, the things that meet your child's interests, coming back to that observation piece. And then looking at the emotional environment, this is a big one. What you say matters. Whether your child is with you or not with you, really examine the stories you're telling about your child. And there's a lot of support for this in the Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly curriculum with handouts that can lead you through specifically evaluating what are the stories you're telling and how can you change those to create a more supportive emotional environment. And practicing deep listening, this is one of the trickiest things because I've got some kids who can just like talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And sometimes it's easy to just zone out. And I find that practicing deep listening with kids means being really honest and making sure that you're not just nodding mindlessly or saying when they're talking when your mind is actually thinking of other things, but taking a moment and even being honest. If they say, right, mom, taking that moment to say, "Oh, I got really distracted. I started thinking about something else in my mind. Could you repeat that one more time so I can really listen?" And just making sure that you're then repeating back what you heard and getting confirmation from them that they feel listened to. And I do this even with little ones who are, throwing a fit, like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. Even just being able to say, I hear you saying you don't want to leave can mean all the difference for them to be able to feel heard. And sometimes we still have to say, I hear you say you don't want to leave, and yet, we have somewhere else to be, or it's really important that we get in the car right now. So what can we do to work together to make this feel a little bit better, even though you don't want to leave? Because I hear you saying that. Okay, the energetic environment. I'm going to flip the slide so we can get into this a little bit deeper. Oh. So this is where the culmination of our hour together is gonna come together. So I threw a bunch of skills out at you because I wanted you to have this opportunity to just take as much value as you can, and try to put some of these little pieces into play in your home and with your kids. But the energetic environment is really key, and that's why we're doing an energetic reset right now on January 1st so that we can create an energetic environment for ourselves and in our home and for our children that can really set a new foundation for us to move forward from. So, this is an opportunity to set our energetic intention. And I'm just taking a moment to feel into myself. I get so excited and passionate when I'm talking about these tools that I'm already like kind of buzzing. So I'm just going to take myself back to what it felt like in the meditation, remembering that warm, warm honey melting over my body, feeling how that begins to deepen my breath, slow my heartbeat. Maybe your mind keeps going back to thinking through, like, how am I going to put all this into practice? Just allowing that honey then to ease though any of those worries, bring you back to this present moment, and fill yourself with all that energetic essence that you collected. Mm, Filling yourself sinking deeply into your seat, into the chair or bed or ground below you. Mm. And so, as you feel this energetically beginning to fill your cells and feeling how that brings you to a settled experience of your body and your mind and your breath. What I often like to say is take in this new cellular experience. So, really take it in, reminding the cells what this feels like. This is a healing response. And it's something that you can practice when you're in moments where you've suddenly noticed that you've gotten very anxious. You're anxious about a transition with your child, or I was really anxious last night about my teenager experiencing connection with all the New Year's Eve celebrations when she was really just interested in being introverted and by herself. And so I've had to practice this over and over again every time I get this feeling like, oh, I didn't do it good enough for her. Um, I bring this healing response to myself, or I remember what it feels like to be full, to be settled, slowing down and building that trust. This is something that you can continue to practice. And you really only need 30 seconds to presence this feeling. Breathing in and extending your exhale longer than your inhale. Sometimes I count. Breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhaling twice as long. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Allowing that breath and this cellular experience that you found in the meditation to bring your mind out of that survival, fight or flight, anxious place and bring it into a settled, trusting, healing response. This is where we can make observations, where we can make decisions, where we can have creative solutions that can arise. We can actually think of them, where we can be inspired, where we can find that connection with our child. All of those things are actually physically impossible for the brain to do when we're in that survival mode, when our heart is racing. So just keep bringing yourself back to this settled, relaxed place and practice it. So I'd like to use the rest of our time together to talk a little bit about roots to grow, wings to fly. And then I'll take some questions. So, from this settled and relaxed place, just listen for a bit as I describe to you my passion that I've put into this curriculum. It's been so important for me to transform my relationship with my kids. I have longed since I was a child. I promised myself I would not forget what it was like to be a kid and that I would be a different kind of parent than my parents are. And I took that commitment seriously when I had my first child, when I was really young. And I set out to do things differently, and I felt like a pioneer. There weren't even a lot of names for the different philosophies that we hear today, like attachment parenting, or peaceful parenting, or conscious parenting. Um, I was just a parent out there in the wilderness, giving things a try. Um, and it took me some time to experiment. And so eventually, after studying early childhood development, studying Montessori philosophy, and then studying personal process, and transformation and energy healing through the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, that I was able to bring all of that together to create the Roots to Grow Wings to Fly curriculum. And so this curriculum moves you through 5 modules. The first module is slowing down. The second module is building trust. Number 3, creating connection. I think you're probably finding the trend here. The fourth and fifth modules, though, are titled Independence and Success. And this is where you really get to dive into your own unique way of developing that independence and success for yourself and your kids, and really developing your own family values so that you can have some guideposts on your journey towards peace and joy with your own family. Each module includes 5 videos. None of them are longer than 15 minutes. They're all somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes. Pretty easy to go through each module, 1 module per week. And the videos include an introductory video and then a guided meditation, similar to what we did today, but each one is a little bit different and kind of builds upon that experience of feeling yourself in that grounded and settled place. And then um, And then there's 3 instructional videos that have handouts to move you through really specific skills and techniques, both in your physical space as well as your energetic space, and some fun games and movement activities you can do with your kids. Um, there's a lot of value in this online course. And right now, I am offering a 2023 bonus package that gives you access to the full online curriculum with all the 25 videos, as well as 5 weeks of live instruction by me so that we can have more of a coaching experience where we go through the 1 week's worth of curriculum, 1 module at a time, and then you get to ask your specific questions and we get to build unique and specific solutions for you and your family live on Zoom. And then I'm also going to be doing some age specific and developmentally specific units that you'll have access through this bonus package. And what those are going to look like is using pieces of the curriculum, but expanding it out so that we can do, a deep dive on what does that look like for infants and toddlers? What does it look like, for preschoolers and into what I like to call the actualization phase of children ages 7 to 12. What does that look like for teens and preteens as they venture out into more independence? And what does that look like really for raising the young adult? So we're going to go through all these different specifics, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So this is all kicking off in 2023. And right now with the bonus package, you receive 50% off the online course. So it's a great deal, and you can go to annahouse.com and click on the 2023 bonus package link to find out more of the details and to register. So you can join us. It's going to be a live cohort of families really going through this together and building community. And that's something that I'm really, really excited about because I know there's so many families out there right now who are really saying like, I want to do something differently. If there's anything that being in lockdown with my kids has taught me, or trying to move through different transitions with schooling, it's taught me that I want deeper connection with my kids. It's taught me that I want to do things differently than my parents did, but I don't know where to start. And maybe even, I've heard some families say, I'm tired of parenting books that tell me, have this like one size fits all solution. And it just doesn't work for my kid. And that's what's really different about the Roots to Grow Wings to Fly curriculum, is that this is more not so much about what to do, but about how to do it, how to find your own unique solutions, how to find connection, no matter who your kid is or, what your past has been, so that you can really do some of that deep healing and reflection and also build a stronger energetic imprint. So next we're going to get into questions. So while your questions are percolating and marinating, I want to leave us off with just a couple of thoughts. So, taking the energy that you received from this 1 hour, feeling it in your cells, expanding it out. The final skill I want to leave you with is called harmonic induction. And the idea is that as you vibrate, as you have this vibe, right? We all talk a lot about vibe. It's a vibrational, energetic thing that we're feeling when we're like, I love that vibe, or like, ooh, I didn't like the vibe of that place. I'm not going back there, right? We all feel this energy everywhere we go. And so taking the energy that you feel right now and expanding that out into your home, what will happen is that when you come in contact with your child or your loved ones, they will feel that vibe too. So harmonic induction is the idea that when you take one tuning fork and you strike it and it begins to ring, and it's vibrating the energy of its sound out. You can bring another tuning fork that has not been struck close to it, and it will also begin to ring. And so, as you are vibrating this energy that you've collected in this energetic reset, remember that as your child comes close to you, they will also be able to feel it, but also their little energy bubble will start to resonate with that same energetic vibration. And you will both begin to feel that settled and full place. And from there, there's this certain satisfaction and autonomy that can lead you towards deeper connection. So I hope that that is a gift for you to take out into your day and into your year. So let's get into some questions. If you're watching this as a recording, you can put questions in the comments section and I will definitely get back to you with any answers that I can come up with to your questions, or you can email me directly at anna@annahouse.com. And if you're watching live now, you can put questions in the chat or just come off mute. So what do you got?
I'll just come off mute.
Yay!
I can't say that I have questions, but I want to say thank you for bringing up this term of healing response, because I think what we're all really familiar with is hearing about trauma response and how that affects the body, but knowing that there is actually something that works in direct opposition to that, that's very healing and regulating. So thank you.
Yes.
It's a lot of food for thought.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up that regulating piece, because what I'm finding is that there's a lot of I've heard a lot of people talking about teaching children to self-regulate, concepts of like self-soothing and self-regulation. And we put a lot of expectations on our children that they should be able to handle their own trauma response, right? Their tantrums. Like, for a toddler saying, no, you can't have, candy at the checkout aisle can feel like trauma. Like that is enough for them to kind of get feeling spun out. Which then triggers our trauma response and can bring up so much from our past, right? And so much feelings that can put us in an emotional reaction that's not necessarily coming from a conscious or deliberate place, because a lot of times it's our subconscious that's reacting in those moments. And then both our child's freaking out and we're getting anxious. We're like, oh my gosh, who's looking? What do I do? And so if you can think in that moment of this concept of a healing response, just taking that 30 seconds to be like, oh yeah, what did it feel like in my cells to feel like there's enough. I am full. I am settled, right? And then that energy begins to build in your system. And then you're holding that energetic space for your child. And it might not immediately stop them from screaming, but it will give you that opportunity to connect with them and remind you to do those pieces of deep listening. Like, I really hear you saying you really want that right now. And depending on what age there's so many different solutions, compromises to come up with, opportunities to kind of shift that energy towards something else. They're just passionate. They're passionate, and some developmental phases, they're like pinball machines. They're like, I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about that. It's just like, so, being able to use that towards your advantage, that's another like skill I love to talk about. I call it, like I sometimes call it mom kung fu or the tai chi of parenting, which is like being able to follow that energy, but also kind of gently lead it in a particular direction. It doesn't always have to be like blunt force against force.
Good.
Yeah.
Having been raised in a home where there was a lot of emotional disconnect and like not a lot of emotional support, I think that's like
Mm,
a trigger for me for my 3-year-old to make sure that I'm providing for him in those ways. And I think how it's coming out is that I'm like overdoing it. And so
yeah.
I sort of like question, I'm like always kind of running the line between how much is healthy for him to be playing independently. He also doesn't have any siblings. How much is healthy for him to just do independent play versus me kind of in there with him doing it
Hmm.
together, which is really hard for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, well, when you put it all together in this way of thinking about it more as like a holistic approach to the environment and knowing that you're setting up, part of it is setting up the physical environment so that there are spaces for independent play and there are spaces for parallel play and there are spaces for like collective play because all three of those things are really valuable actually. And having the opportunity to choose between those spaces depending on where you're at. And again, like my example with my kid last night who kept choosing independent play at 16 years old. And I was like, no, it's a party. You're supposed to be with everybody else. uh, you know, like we have to also be okay with their choices. Like sometimes they don't always choose what we choose when it comes to having those options. And that kind of sets, again, that the emotional environment, I think really has that foundation of trust, which is like, and so much of that comes from experimenting. Like sometimes, yeah, we do overdo it, and then our kid has to be like, mom, step back, I need some space. Right. And sometimes we underdo it and they're like, man, you really weren't listening, and I feel sad. But by creating that trust, you create an environment where you can see those things and mend the harm and have opportunities to kind of be throughout that whole spectrum. Like it's not just like set cruise control and you're like always going to be going the same speed with that. It's kind of like you've got to always be um in be able to be flexible and in a flow with that. And then there's the energetic environment, right? And
Mhm.
that can be where you really get, for me, again, that's where I have a lot of fun. And in the online course, there's a lot of different games to play. In moving through there's 4 modes of energy that I teach about, where you can create opportunities for flow and flexibility, by having a dance party or, being in your space. And then there's opportunities where you might need to create opportunities to charge your energy, where it's just feeling like I can't even move another inch. And maybe that has nothing to do with your kid. Maybe you're just feeling lethargic, and you want to create that charge in your energy so that you can hold the space with your kid who maybe wants to go on a big adventure, like they've got the energy to spare. Or
Mhm.
sometimes you see it in your child and you want to build that energy because it's going to support them in their day.
Mhm.
But then more often than not, what we find with our kids is that they've got just more energy than they know what to do with, because so much of our society is telling kids, sit still, be quiet, stand in line, don't do that, don't do this. And so they tend to hold a lot of pent up energy that they're not able to move. So the third mode of energy is discharge, being able to really like have expressions for just letting it go. I teach one that's called throwing lightning bolts, or getting out
Mhm.
there with a stick and slashing some long grass, or like throwing snowballs or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Having spaces, and again, looking at the physical environment, having spaces, or at least a space in your house or outside where that kind of gross motor, big physical expression is totally welcome and an open choice throughout any part of the day. Like where do you need to go if you just need to stomp around a bunch and like
Mhm.
scream into the pillow, you know, like or whatever it is, like you got to move that energy. And then the fourth mode of energy is grounding. And, my simple tool for grounding is just, I call it be a tree. Just seeing that giant redwood tree in front of you and just stepping right inside, right? Being able to hold that grounded space. And that's the one that I use like as more of a healing response a lot when I can shift into that mode of feeling grounded. But it's great for kids who are also like clumsy or goofy. Sometimes my kid just needs that grounding. I'm like, what are you doing climbing on a wheeling stool, like trying to reach, a plant or something crazy? I'm like, what are you doing right now? You are literally going to fall on your head. Like, let's practice some grounding, right?
Sounds like my life
um,
every day.
Yeah, and so, again, coming back to this point where it's like, oh man, it feels triggering to think about what I wasn't available to me when I was a kid, and how do I then provide that for my child, and when am I overdoing it because I'm trying to overcompensate for something I didn't get? Um, Most importantly, in setting the environment is what is your inner environment?
Mhm.
Right? And so when you feel that getting triggered in you, that's the opportunity to like just take a moment, reset, reparent yourself, and take that time to say, like, I'm emotionally available for you, Lindsay, right now.
Yeah.
And that takes more time. It takes more time and support, which is why I often combine the online curriculum and the family coaching with healing sessions, because it's really great to have that energetic support um, from an energy healing, which you've received, so you know the benefits of that.
Mhm.
Because when we find those little places in us that have you know, that have that wounding or that feeling of emptiness, or that like I don't know what to do. Often the energy can move from that place in distorted ways when we
Mhm.
try to be with our kids, because it hasn't found its place to be fully integrated in our whole energetic system. And so
Right.
as we bring more love and healing and appreciation to those little places in us and what they've taught us, um, we can begin to then, you know, build um, really a new foundation so that we don't have to be like recreating those patterns with our own kid.
Mhm.
Which is the hardest thing, and those can really be in shadow and they can blindside us. Because often when we think I did a YouTube video, it's called Disappointment Sucks, but it might be good for us, where I talk about this a little bit, how my overcompensating for the way my family treated disappointment actually still created an unhealthy pattern for my kid around disappointment. And how I had to come and find this balance, find this middle place where I could really be um, really hold a clearer container, I guess is a good way to say it. Hold a clearer container for my child's disappointment without putting my own expectations on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited to get more families into the cohort. We've gotten already a handful of families signed up for the Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly bonus package for this year. I haven't announced the dates that I'm going to be doing the 5 weeks of um, live instruction yet. So I'm going to extend the 50% off for another week while I define kind of what those 5 weeks of live instruction look like. They're going to be these kind of quick 1 hour, 1 hour plus questions, opportunities on Zoom throughout probably January and February. And it'll be great to give it a deep dive. Well, you know that I love doing this, and this is where my gifts get to shine, and what I'm excited to lean into in 2023. So thanks for supporting me today.
100%. It was a very good use of my time. Thank you.
Yeah.